Sometimes I like to sit back and think about reverse engineering my goal. So my goal is 300 kilos. What do I think right now, jot it down on paper, what do I think is going to lead me to that goal? You can reverse engineer it. So if 300 kilos is your goal, you need to make some assumptions about this goal. Number one, your whole freaking life needs to revolve around training. People just don't wake up one day, walk out, under the bar and squat 300 kilos. This has to be a very concentrated effort to do this. This is elite level strength, especially the way I do it, ass to grass, narrower stance, full depth, no gear. To do that, 300 kilos, we are talking about, man, the elite of the elite. There's been guys on the web, squatting 300 kilos. Some guys are probably natural and whatever, but those dudes are going to parallel with a belt, maybe some knee sleeves, knee wraps, whatever, all that stuff. To do 300 kilos the way I intend to do it, man, this is some elite level stuff. And, logic would serve that I would need some very advanced genetics or drugs to get to this type of goal. So that's one assumption. This is an elite thing, right? This can't be done by mistake. The second thing is the second thing that I think about is that feeds into that first thing is that you need to concentrate like a main goal of your life. This is something that people don't generally do and still do other things in life. You know what I mean? You can't be training for a marathon and you can't be at the same time training to squat 300 kilos the way I want to do it. So this has to be your number one goal in your life, basically, to get to this type of thing. And then the very next thought that I have when I say this is that, can I get to these type of things? Can I achieve this thing, assuming these things, while working as a nurse, rotating roster, all sorts of shifts around the place, and the immediate thought that I have is that's a big problem. This is a big problem, and this is probably going to stop me from reaching my goals. I don't see myself stringing enough training sessions in a week, positive training sessions in a week, to kind of warrant the adaptations that my body needs to kind of go through to get to some of these gains and some of these strength increases. I'm looking back at my log, and for the last 3 months, man, the vast majority of my workouts have either been suboptimal, as in I'm off a night shift, going into a night shift, doing it at 5 o'clock in the morning, or if I have a day off, it's a kind of rush thing. It's like, still 5 o'clock in the morning. I've got other things to do. And I'm looking at that. There's very, very few workouts that I've done in the last 3 months that have been like, okay, I've got a 3-4 hour block, nothing else. I'm fully fed. I'm fully, rested. It's time to get this training. Man, there's been a handful of those workouts in the last 3 months. So even though I have a really, super high training frequency and I do a lot of workouts, I don't actually have a lot of proper quality workouts where I'm, all those boxes that I mentioned are ticked off. So automatically I'm like, okay, reverse engineering this thing is not going to go well for me. Already I've kind of hit a roadblock where I'm like, so I'm expecting myself to get to some elite level strength, elite level kind of strength feat while doing night shifts, while being a registered nurse at a hospital, doing night shifts, stress over there, being involved in resources, very busy department, very busy health system. And then I'm supposed to kind of come in underslept, underfed, and put in crazy training sessions that's going to get me in the same kind of circle with the elite boys. I don't see that happening. Honestly, looking at the training log, I'm like, man, I'm not stringing enough of these freaking training sessions together that are actually meaningful. Most of these things are, greasing the groove type things where I just come in and retain that kind of neural efficiency for the strength that I have. But very few of those workouts I'm actually building. And you can see that. Like, I'm the hardest critic of myself. I look at the training log and I'm like, what's going on here, man? Like, on top of all of this, I've got things outside of those couple of points that I made. I've had the vaccine, lots of vaccines. Now, I don't think the vaccine is killing me, but I think the vaccine is doing something to my immune system. It's challenging my immune system to study a pathogen which is taking a lot of lives around the world and potentially can take my life. So, they've injected me with this virus. My body's studying this virus, trying to prepare some antibodies, defenses against the real deal. If I contract the real deal, so I don't die, I don't get severe illness, I don't end up in ICU. So those things, 3, 4, for me it was like 6 weeks apart, those jabs. So 6 weeks apart I've had those jabs. So it's a bit of a shock to the system each time. I haven't been sick with it, but sure, low grade kind of inflammation happening in the body. Trying to study this thing. And then on top of that, I've been sick 4 times this year in the last 6 months. So put all that into the mix, man. You start kind of baking this cake of ours that we're kind of talking about here. And you think to yourself, man, you've let go of 6 months of training and you haven't had a lot of progress. You haven't had a lot of positive steps in the right direction. There's been a lot of effort, there's been a lot of freaking effort about this. But how much of that effort is actually being converted? Whether you're training one day a week, 2 days a week, 3 days a week, whatever the case might be, or every single day like I'm doing, some of those things are going to be constant regardless of your training plan. I think it would be even worse if I was training 3 days a week, because some of those days where I'm underslept, underfed, you would have me put in what volume, at what intensity, at what RPE. So some of those sessions become unbearable. Because what I've done in my training program, I've split this whole thing up in 7 days. So each, the bite-sized pieces, you remove that frequency and you put it down to 3 or 4 days a week. All of a sudden, those sessions become longer, heavier, harder to recover from. And then I'm supposed to go to a night shift, recover from a night shift, fast for 12 hours and then go into a session like that. You see what I'm trying to say? So these type of goals that we aspire to, we look at these figures on social media doing these amazing things, but we don't actually think about what it actually takes outside the workout for that to happen. They can't be working jobs that is severely inhibiting them from progressing. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of things happening here. Throwing a young family, kids going to childcare for the first time, kindy, bringing bad bugs, just life stresses. All of a sudden you see that you might have all the kind of intention in your mind to do these amazing things, but there's a lot of things that have to kind of go, a lot of sacrifice. I'm not saying here I'm going to quit my nursing career and I'm going to leave my family and just live on some freaking island with a squat bar and a rack and just do that. Obviously I can't do that, and I will never do that. Obviously, weightlifting for me is not that highly ranked, but when you start kind of thinking about setting world records, you're going against guys who've squatted 300 ATG, and you start comparing their life towards your life. What are we talking about, man? It's not about sets and reps anymore in the frequency and the type of program you're doing, whether you're doing Bulgarian, Russian, American, doesn't really matter what type of program. Let's talk about stuff that's outside the gym, the other 23 hours of their life. How much are they sleeping? What's their life like? How much support are they getting? Are they getting masseuses? Are they getting, all this other stuff involved? Are they getting perfect diet, perfect sleep? When I think about comparing myself to some of those professionals out there who are squatting 300 ATG, whether they're enhanced or not enhanced, screw the enhanced bit, they're getting more sleep and better food, man. They're not involved in a resus room where they have to do CPR for an hour. That's not part of their life, man. I live that. And so after that, I go home, sleep, come out of it, or not even sleep, and to go do a training session. Come on, man. Who are we kidding? Come on. Let's be real here. Is this even possible in a life, that I kind of lead? Is it possible? I'm not sure. I would say that if I ever get to 300 kilos working as a nurse as I am right now, man, the first thing that I want to think about is, what if I wasn't a nurse? Do you know what I mean? What if I worked a comfy 9-to-5 job in an office without any stress, perfect meal, perfect sleep? How much better would I have been then? Do you know what I mean? So oftentimes we get so, focused on, sets and reps and the things intra workout, but really the effects of those training sessions gets multiplied, enhanced, it gets really precipitated by the things that we do outside the damn gym. So we often talk about, what programs and whatever, what the most optimal thing is, but truth of the matter is, man, if you're not doing the right things outside for whatever reason, life, family, whatever your motivations are, restrictions are, I mean, this is all well and good, and we can sit here and debate until the cows come home, but how beneficial can this be? So even though this kind of thought gets me frustrated, gets me down a little bit, because I'm like, man, I wish I had the ability, wish I had the opportunity, wish I could make a living, doing this. But it's not my reality. There's people out there who don't have financial pressures and other responsibilities in life. All they have to worry about is what's happening with the barbell. Man, that's not my life, man. That's not my life. That doesn't mean we just walk away from the gym or garage, wherever the hell you train, and you forget about it. You come in, you do your thing. But I think it's a healthy thought to actually think about what the limitations are here, and not to have expectations like, I want to be able to squat 250 by the end of this year. This year's been crazy, man. I've had a crazy year. I'm sure there's people out there who have even crazier years. I'm blessed. I've actually had a good year. But in terms of doing supernatural kind of stuff, lifting 300 kilos at a body weight of 90 kilos or 95 kilos, wherever I fall, like, I'm not strong by the means of this community, at large. Dudes are, they're squatting, they're lifting crazy numbers. But general population and the general people who I should really compare myself to, other nurses in the world. How many nurses can do this? How many doctors can do this? Do you know what I mean? That is my cohort for comparison. It's not the cohort that we often kind of, I'm going to compare myself to Jamal Browner. You know what I mean? Like, how can I compare myself to him? He's not in my league. He's not a nurse. He's not doing night shifts. I don't even know what his background life is and whatever, but I don't think he's dealing with the same kind of things that I'm dealing with. I don't want to speak for him. I don't really know what he's doing, but I can just assume that a guy of that strength, of that elite level performance, he would have a lot of things going his way. Not because he's lucky that way. It's because he's actually changed his life in a way that he's like, I'm going to put all my eggs in this basket. Not to say this in a demeaning manner for him. Freaking respect, man. He's done this. It's just I can't afford to do that, right? I've got other things to worry about. My situation is not like that. So when I think about these things, this is kind of like the sobering moment where I'm like, man, this training log ain't lying, man. Every single session after I finish, I write down exactly what's up. And I'm looking back for the last 3 months. I'm like, what's going on here, man? These sessions that I'm doing are kind of like, they're not the main thing of my life, man. They're always like tucked in before everyone wakes up or when everyone goes to bed. Or it's kind of like out of the way of everyone. It's not the main event of my day. Whereas some of these guys, their training session is the main event of the day. For me, it's kind of like an afterthought. Not that it's mentally an afterthought, but it's realistically not optimal. Anyway, in this video, you've seen 2 videos. Both are one takes. One is the squat routine. The other one is the deadlift routine. This whole freaking workout took 12 minutes. Maybe 14, 15 minutes if you include the break in between. I had a sip of water. I wanted to say that the whole training session today took 15 minutes because of all the other things that I just mentioned. Finished the night duty, lack of sleep, lack of food, all that stuff. I don't want to get sick again, so I have to cut the session short. Having said all of that, I think what I did today is better than nothing. Anyway, guys, some food for thought. This is what's on my mind right now. I'll catch you guys tomorrow. Peace out.